Hi folks, so how you doing? So yeah, I've been keeping chickens for a while. This is one of my girls. She was about 2 years old when I got her. She was an ex-battery. You always have to be careful with chickens, just in case they do go for your face, especially the reflection in your glasses. They don't mean to be, but they're curious and they do peck. So I'm going to quickly show you around the chicken coop, and I'll show you the basics of what you need in there. It's pretty simple, really. It's really simple. Don't get too over, panicky about my setup. Your setup does not have to look like this at all. This just suits me, but I'll show you. So here we go. Hello, Gilly. We have a rat-proof chicken feeder. I'm not quite sure how rat-proof that is. Well demonstrated there, girl. Well demonstrated. You've done that like a trooper. But it seems to work, really. That holds about 2 and a bit days worth of food. And believe it or not, because I do the deep litter system, that's for more advanced chicken keepers. We'll touch on that in another video. There's loads of worms and grubs in that soil underneath, and they scrat it about. Sometimes I come and there's massive big holes in there, so I know they get plenty of food. Anyway, chickens need somewhere to roost. Chickens don't sleep on the ground. They like to perch. Could one of you jump on the perch for me, please? No? You're on strike, are you? Fair enough. So yeah, they're on a perch. They like to basically grip something with their feet to go to sleep. And so I've got a couple of perches set up there. There's also some perches in there. And there's also some perches in there. So they can go where they want. I've kind of figured out that when it's not too cold, they like to be outside here. And they like to perch up there. And then when it gets cold, they migrate into there where it's obviously less windy and exposed to the elements. Isn't that right? Is that right? Yes, it is. So that's the basics. Perch. Then you want a nest box. Now, nest box is where they have a nest. Now, chickens don't really make a nest. Oh. Now, as you can notice, it's dark in here. It is dark, isn't it? Now, chickens like it dark where they're going to lay their eggs. And ideally, they want somewhere soft. So they want some straw or some shredded paper or something like that. So, they've had a scrap round in there and they've knocked some of the straw out. I need to put more in it. Probably can't see in here, can you? Oh, I got an egg. I collected them this morning as well. There we go. So yeah, they like it dark. For anything, these are old wine crates that I've just nailed to the wall and put hay in. You don't need anything fancy. As you can see, old plant pot, some perches. They perch here. Sometimes they perch up there. They love it basically. Anywhere to perch, anywhere soft to get their bums in to lay an egg is all good. Hey. Sometimes even the boys come in here. I don't know why, because you're not egg layers, are you? No. Anyway, let's get that egg and get out. But that's it. That's a really basic chicken setup. Recycled wine crates with straw in for nest boxes. It's all you need. You don't need anything fancy. So that's the very basics on chicken keeping. There is a few other things that you need to consider, and I'll probably touch on those in some other videos. So please subscribe. Now, chickens are brutes. Aren't you? You are brutes. And they have a habit of bullying each other. But this is where the term pecking order comes from. Yes. Yes, it does. So they have to decide who's boss. Now, he's boss. He's top dog. He's king cock. He's the man about town. Now, lady down there, she's the alpha female. And she's wondering what the hell's going on, because I haven't got chicken food out yet. Do you mind? That's my cabbage for dinner today. Thank you very much. Now the rest of the chickens have to know their place. Now, believe it or not, you would think that Miss Featherless over there would be lowest of the low. She's not. Look how she's up next to him. she's pretty high up the pecking order. I'd say she's probably, you know, close to being number 2, number 3 hen. Now, lowest of the low is actually that slightly light coloured one there. But she has pallied up, if you notice, with the other cockerel, because these two are brothers. Now he's top dog, and that brother knows his place. Okay, but that hen who has been bullied has learnt that if I stay close to him, I've got a little bit more protection than if I was just lowly old me on my own. These girlies here are the 2 old girls. They've sorted each other out. There's 1, there's 2, and they quite happily get on with each other. But if the other girls start muscling in on their food, they will peck each other. And sometimes it looks quite brutal, because these girls eat first and then everyone else does. Now Mr. Cockerel also knows that too, so when he finds food, he will call the girlies over, and the top hens eat first, then the medium hens, then the bottom hens, and he just eats whenever he wants. Yes, that's right. But when you first keep chickens and you start seeing your chickens fighting and pecking each other, it looks horrible, and you just think, what are you doing? But they are sorting out their pecking order. They're sorting out who is top chicken, and if you haven't got a cockerel to marshal them a bit, that's still a trainer, and it's still not edible. Yeah, if you haven't got a cockerel, the hens will fight amongst themselves to figure out who is alpha female, and the alpha female can actually take on some cockerel personalities. They've even been known in the past to crow a little bit. They're not as loud, but they will in the morning do a brrr. So there we go. We've learned a little bit about pecking order. What I would recommend is, after you've watched this video of my fountain of all knowledge on chicken keeping, get yourself a book. Seriously, I have a couple of books. There's so many out there. There's John Seymour Guide to Self-Sufficiency. That's got a great chapter in on chicken keeping. I'm trying to think. There's also one called Practical Poultry. That's got and have a read, because there's lots of little things. There's ailments. There's things that you'll spot that over time you'll get to learn from. I can't touch on every single one out here, but for instance, okay, if your chickens aren't free range or they don't have access to dirt and soil, they'll need grit, and grit helps them build up shell. I give them oyster shell. I buy it from the farm shops, and it costs me like £3 for a kilo of it, and it lasts 6 months or longer. There's things like red mite. All animals get fleas and mites and this, that and the other. Chickens get a thing called red mite. Dead simple to sort out. Just a couple of times a year you put special powder on the back of their necks, and then obviously you regularly clean out the chicken coop, and you put powder in the nest boxes. That's all sorted. They can get a thing called scaly leg. You just get a spray from the farm shops and stuff and squirt it on their feet, and that sorts them out. And there's a load of things, but don't be put off, and don't be scared about these things. Most things that go wrong with a chicken, you don't need to take to the vet. You can sort it out yourself. If you get a good book, read it. It's dead simple. It's no different to when you give your dog worming tablets, or you put that flea drop at the back of the neck and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I know some people go to the vets and do things like that, and then pay £40-50 whatever for the privilege of someone doing a job that you can do. Now with my chickens, I don't. I really don't do anything like that. I mean, they look after themselves and I look after them, and that's the way it goes. If I had a very poorly chicken, I would take them home and I would nurse them and see how they get on. And this is another thing to think about with chicken keeping. Chickens are livestock at the end of the day. Yes, I look after these girls, and they are like a pet, but they are livestock at the end of the day. If you get a poorly chicken, you've got to decide what you're going to do with it. If you read your books and all the things, you can't figure out what it is, you know people that keep chickens and they can't figure out what it is, and it's clear that this chicken is poorly, you have a decision to make. And this is probably the toughest part of chicken keeping. You've got to decide, do you take it to the vet? In which case the vet is going to charge you about £35 consultation fee, and then he's probably going to charge you a tenner to stick a needle in the chicken and put it to sleep. Okay, which is fair enough. That's what they cost. Or you have to dispatch the chicken yourself. And there's really only one humane way of doing that, and that is to learn how to dispatch a chicken, and you break its neck. And that's probably just put a lot of people off this video, but it's the truth, and I'm telling you the truth. And it's up to you what you got to do. And I know some people will say, how can you do that, this, that and the other, blah blah blah. I have an allotment to make food for my household. I have chickens for eggs, and they also hoover up all the slugs. I rescue the chickens. I try and do everything as cheaply as possible. I cannot afford, every time a chicken gets ill, to take it to the vet and the vet charge me £30 to put a chicken to sleep. That is just absolutely ridiculous. So if I do get a chicken that's poorly, and don't get me wrong, I hate doing it, absolutely, I will cry my eyes out when I do it. If I get a poorly chicken and it's clear that the chicken's suffering, that's what I do. I've learned to do it over the years, and I can do it pretty quick, and it's damn instant, seriously. But there is a learning curve to that, and it's something that you don't really have chance to practice on. If it happens, you just got to read the books, watch the videos, see how other people do it, and then just have a go. And you know, I wouldn't like to guess how many chickens I've had to put to sleep since keeping chickens, but it doesn't get any easier. It really doesn't. So think about it, because that is probably, personally, that's the only downside to having chickens for eggs and for food and everything else, is if you're just keeping them as pets, then I'm sure you'll take them to the vets and spend your 30-40 quid or whatever it is to get them put to sleep. But if you're keeping them for food, and you're keeping them for eggs, and you want to be a little bit self-sufficient and this, that and the other, then it's worth keeping in mind that when a chicken gets old or gets poorly, what are you going to do with it? So that's it, folks. We're ending on a slight downer, but I'm not pulling my punches with this one. Chicken keeping is an amazing hobby, but it's not for everyone. It's seriously not for everybody, and that's why people have to learn. And it's better you know these things now than you think it's all bunny rabbits and rainbows, and then that day comes.